You had another great thing from Dave Herman at NEW who tried
Right,
to play it and it did not work.
right. And he was getting hate mail basically.
Yeah, that's insane.
And I do remember that era because that was the rock station in New York at the time. Like that was the station where John and Yoko would come on the air, like kind of stuff. So it was kind of like a kind of a hip station, and here's their one of their main DJs hearing Bad Girls and saying, "I want to play this," and like literally told he can't do it, and which is really it's sad. And it also speaks to the era too, right?
Yeah.
It also speaks to like we had the world hadn't really crossed over for all the talk of the crossover. It hadn't happened yet. It still took till today for it to happen. But it was really a very difficult. It was a difficult time and place. And then there's like a big part of this. If we're going to talk about Donna Summer, who also worked with Donna Summer, of course, Giorgio Moroder was her producer, and Giorgio Moroder then worked with Blondie, and he did "Call Me," which was on American Gigolo, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is a really dirty song, like a really, just a really dirty lyrics by Debbie Harry, you know, and of course Rapture too, but that's almost like a year or two later, right? And that's where the beginning of hip hop, and that's your 1980 as well.
Right. Yeah.
Talking about 1980, that's another part where that happens.
Right.
But Blondie, I think, defined what I was kind of, I mean, I don't mean to internalize it, but that thing that I was kind of describing in myself about how you, as a New Yorker, you're open to all these different music forms because you hear them all the time. That's what was going on with Blondie. It wasn't like Blondie, because don't forget Blondie starts at CBGB's. Their first two records are on a label called Private Stock, which is Richard Goddard from Sire Records. Who was a rock producer. I mean, he wrote the song "I Want Candy" in the '60s, and so he's like a rock guy. And when they left him, they went to Chrysalis, which was a major label at the time, and they were, suddenly allowed to do more. And those were the songs that they're kind of known for. So that's like a very interesting part of this story too. It's like, who opened themselves up to do disco, right? Like you have to like kind of like, disco is something you have to kind of embrace. Because if you fake it, it doesn't really work. You have to really like want it. You have to like really feel it. So I mean, and we were kind of talking about Kiss and stuff, but that song, I mean, that is totally what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then there's like stuff like, I didn't get too much into the book, but like the Grateful Dead,
That's
there's
fine.
a Disco Dead, the disco, the people, like if you're a Grateful Dead fan, which I'm not, but they kind of, there's this like hatred, like this kind of rewriting of history as if they weren't into disco. But they made an album called Shakedown Street.
Yeah.
That's a complete disco record. Before that, they did a record called Terrapin Station, which had a couple songs like that. And if you read it, what I did my research, it's just Mickey Hart loved disco. I mean, nobody wants to hear that if you're a Grateful Dead fan.
Just goes back.
They love disco.
The drummer.
So, yeah. You love the beat? Yeah. There you go.